Did you know that laughter is contagious? In fact, studies show that when you hear someone laugh, your brain automatically prepares to laugh, too. It's a built-in response we all have. But here's something even more surprising: people are 30% more likely to remember something funny over something serious. That means humor is not just for fun, it's a powerful tool to connect, influence, and even persuade others. In this guide, you'll discover how to take your speaking skills to the next level by tapping into the power of visual humor. It's not just about cracking jokes, it's about using your body, your face, and the unexpected to make your message unforgettable. Whether you're giving a presentation, telling a story, or just having a conversation, these strategies will help you grab attention, keep people engaged, and leave them laughing. So, are you ready to learn how to make people laugh with just your gestures? Want to know the secret behind the timing that makes your jokes hit? Stay with us, because by the end of this, you'll be a master at using visual comedy to captivate and entertain anyone. Let's get started. Chapter 1. Unlock the power of visual humor. Picture this. Humor isn't just about what you say, it's how you say it, especially when visuals come into play. The human brain processes images 60,000 times faster than text, which is why visual humor works so well. Think about the last time you laughed at a funny meme. It was likely the image paired with the caption that got you. The same principle applies to speaking. If you can create vivid, exaggerated mental images through your words or gestures, your humor will be much more effective. The best comedians know how to paint pictures with their humor. Imagine describing a regular office chair like it's a futuristic invention. Suddenly, what could be a dull joke becomes hilarious because you've painted a picture that feels out of place, but in a funny way. Visual humor creates contrast, and contrast is the essence of comedy. If you're used to using simple language, start adding exaggerated details to your stories. Describe objects, situations, and people in ways that make the ordinary seem absurd. A study by the University of California found that people remember 65% of what they see, versus only 10% of what they hear. So, don't just tell a joke, show it. Use hand gestures, facial expressions, and props to visually represent the humor. Try mimicking the big actions you're describing. For instance, when talking about a clumsy situation, mimic the chaos in exaggerated movements, and let your audience picture the absurdity of it. Also, think about the impact of color. Studies show that people are more likely to remember jokes that involve colors, especially bright ones like red or yellow. Next time you tell a funny story, try to weave in some colorful imagery, like describing a character's outrageous outfit or a wild scene where the visuals pop. It grabs attention and sticks with your audience. Chapter 2. The Art of Timing. Funny doesn't just happen, it's visualized. Timing is everything in comedy, and it can be the difference between a chuckle and an uproarious laugh. The secret? Visual cues. Comedy is about creating anticipation and then flipping it, and timing plays a huge role in this. A pause before the punchline can build tension, making the audience wait for that aha moment, just like in stand-up comedy. The key is to give your audience enough visual information so they can anticipate what's coming next. Have you ever watched a comedian pause before delivering a punchline? That pause often makes the joke funnier. It's not just silence, it's the visual cue of waiting for something unexpected to happen. Your body language during that moment can say just as much as your words. Leaning forward slightly, raising your eyebrows, or glancing around the room subtly sets up the humor. The audience can almost see the punchline coming, which builds the comedic tension. You can also use visual timing by exaggerating your reactions. When you're telling a funny story, take a breath or make an over-the-top expression of surprise right before the punchline. It's like setting up a visual domino effect. Once that domino falls, the laughter follows naturally. Timing is often underestimated, but it's absolutely crucial to make jokes land effectively. Remember, comedy is not just about quick delivery, sometimes, it's about how long you can stretch out the anticipation. In fact, studies show that the average person needs about 1.5 seconds of pause to properly digest the punchline of a joke. This gives your audience a moment to process the visual cues and allows for a better comedic response. So next time you pause, let it linger a little longer. Visualize the space before your punchline lands. One great example of perfect timing is Charlie Chaplin. His silent films are still funny because of the way he timed his actions. When he sets up for something ridiculous, he lets the audience imagine what's next, building a visual narrative that's instantly funny. Chapter 3. Gestures that giggle. Body language that makes you memorable. Body language is one of the most powerful tools for humor. It's not just what you say, but how you say it, how you move your body, the way you stand, and the expressions you wear. If you watch a comedian on stage, they often use their body to exaggerate their jokes, making them feel larger than life. If you're speaking to a group, try using your body to amplify your humor. In fact, research from UCLA found that 55% of communication is nonverbal. That means your gestures and expressions will likely impact how your joke lands even more than your words. If you make a grand gesture while telling a funny story, you're automatically making the situation feel bigger and more comedic. Imagine telling a story about tripping over something while walking. If you suddenly stagger or do a little mock dance, it makes the visual funnier. Your audience will instantly visualize the humor, making it hit harder. A simple but powerful trick is to mirror the energy in your body with the energy in the story. If your story is about something chaotic, amp up your body movements to match it. If you're talking about a quiet, awkward moment, hold your body in a stiff, frozen way. Your physical movements will act as the visual punchline, making your audience feel the humor in a more visceral way. Also, use exaggeration. A shrug isn't just a shrug if you make it a grand, theatrical gesture. A little hop isn't just a hop if you throw in a ridiculous spin and some over-the-top facial expressions. When you over-exaggerate, it takes the normal and makes it absurd, which is exactly what visual humor is about. It's not just the big movements that matter either. Sometimes it's about the little details. Think about the small, funny things people do without realizing it, like awkwardly shifting around or making a face when something is uncomfortable. If you notice these small movements in real life, try them out in your storytelling. The more relatable, the better the humor. Comedy experts agree that our minds are wired to laugh at certain movements. When a person does something unexpectedly awkward, it triggers a surprise response, and this is one of the quickest ways to get a laugh. So, if you can take an everyday situation and exaggerate the body language, you're on the right track. Don't forget to subscribe for more tips on visual humor and storytelling to make your speaking style unforgettable. Chapter 4: Unexpected Angles. How to flip the script with visual comedy. When it comes to humor, surprise is everything. One of the best ways to make your audience laugh is to flip their expectations using unexpected visual angles. Visual comedy works best when you introduce a twist, something your audience doesn't see coming. This creates a contrast between what they thought would happen and what actually happens, which is a key ingredient in humor. Think about how comedians use props. A simple object like a banana can go from being a fruit to an absurd weapon in the blink of an eye. By taking something ordinary and adding a twist, you turn the mundane into something funny. For example, if you're describing a clumsy person, don't just tell the story. Instead, create an unexpected visual by showing them struggling with an item they should be able to handle with ease. A fun technique is to create visual misdirection. This is when you lead your audience to expect one thing and then surprise them with another. For example, you could tell a story about someone walking into a room, and just as they turn around, you act out the opposite, like they trip on something or dramatically lose balance. The visual misdirection catches people off guard, and that's where the humor lies. Research from the University of Warwick shows that surprise is directly tied to laughter. When we encounter something unexpected, our brains release dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. This chemical reaction is what makes us laugh. So, when you throw in a visual surprise, you're not just telling a joke, you're triggering a physical reaction in your audience. One of the most famous examples of visual misdirection is from slapstick comedy, where physical actions appear exaggerated or out of place. Think of how silent film stars like Buster Keaton and Laurel and Hardy used visual twists to make simple moments hilarious. It was all about taking something predictable and adding a surprising visual element to make it funny. By mastering this technique, you don't just rely on words, you create moments where your audience laughs because they didn't see the punchline coming. Start looking at everyday situations and ask, how can I turn this into something unexpected? It could be as simple as adding a twist to a gesture or misdirecting your audience's attention. Once you get the hang of it, you'll start to see comedy in everything. Chapter 5: The Power of Facial Expressions. Comedy's secret weapon. You've heard the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but in comedy, a facial expression might just be worth 1,000 laughs. The truth is, your face is one of the most powerful tools in your comedic arsenal. When you pair the right expression with a joke, it can elevate your humor and make your audience laugh harder. Why? Because your face is an immediate, universal communicator. Studies show that 55% of communication comes from nonverbal cues, and much of that comes from facial expressions. Whether you're raising an eyebrow, scrunching your face, or widening your eyes, the right expression helps deliver your message with much more impact than words alone. Your audience will respond to what your face is doing even before they fully process what you're saying. Comedians like Jim Carrey and Robin Williams were masters of using their faces to sell jokes. Jim Carrey's wide-eyed, exaggerated expressions became iconic because he knew how to turn a simple word or action into a hilarious visual spectacle. When your audience sees an expression that seems out of place or exaggerated, it grabs their attention and primes them for laughter. The beauty of facial expressions in comedy is that they can instantly communicate your mood, thoughts, and reactions without saying a word. Imagine you're telling a story about an embarrassing moment. Before you speak, set the tone by using a facial expression that matches the feeling: embarrassment, surprise, confusion, or glee. The visual cue makes the humor more relatable and immediate. But it's not just about being over the top. Sometimes, the most effective expressions are subtle and understated. For example, a slight look of confusion or a deadpan stare can add a whole new layer to a joke. The contrast between the expression and the situation creates humor, especially when the expression doesn't match the expected reaction. Make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss another tip on using your face to become a comedy pro. Chapter 6: Funny on the Fly. Improv techniques to visualize spontaneous humor. Sometimes the funniest moments happen when you least expect them. This is the essence of improvisational comedy, where humor is born from spontaneity and quick thinking. Improv is an excellent way to practice visual humor on the fly, as it requires you to think and react instantly to situations. By mastering some improv techniques, you can turn even the most unexpected moments into comedic gold. A key principle of improv is the yes and rule. This simple idea encourages you to accept whatever is presented to you and build upon it. In the context of visual humor, this means you should take the unexpected visual moments that come up and amplify them. Let's say you're telling a story and someone in the audience makes a comment or reacts. Use the reaction as a springboard for humor. Reacting visually to the comment can turn a mundane exchange into something hilarious. One powerful improv technique is called object work, where you interact with imaginary props or objects as if they were real. The fun lies in how you visualize and exaggerate these props. If you're pretending to hold an oversized sandwich, for example, you can make the action of eating it larger than life. Pretend it's so huge you have to take a huge, over-the-top bite. The audience will see the humor in the exaggerated actions, even without a physical prop. Research from the University of Chicago shows that improvisation stimulates creativity in the brain, particularly the prefrontal cortex, which helps us with problem solving and thinking on our feet. This is why improvisational humor feels so fresh and unforced. It's quick thinking at its finest. The more you practice improv, the faster your brain learns to visualize and react to humor in real time. Another great improv technique is physicality. When something funny happens on the spot, use your body to exaggerate it. If you slip, make your fall bigger than life. If you react to something unexpected, let your body language carry the humor. The physicality of your response enhances the spontaneity of the moment and makes the humor more visible. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights into improv and becoming a humor master on the fly.